This may seem elementary to many, but a consternation to so many others thinking about investing in their first ramp van. The subject of this 67th episode is about parking such a vehicle, or I should say, finding a suitable parking spot while you're out and about. Stay tuned to hear how my wife and I can easily find a parking spot equal to, or maybe a little better, than a person driving a Volkswagen Beetle. Thanks to all my subscribers, and invite all other viewers to subscribe by punching the subscribe button and the bell to be notified of upcoming episodes on the channel dedicated to all people with inclusion body myositis, a serious skeletal muscle disease. The YouTube algorithms will direct more people to this channel and additional exposure for IBM. Stay tuned to the end of this video where I will share a tip for more safely operating your power chair. At the time I was deciding on my first ramp van, the first choice that had to be made was to select whether it should have a side opening ramp or a rear access ramp for getting in and out of the van. My decision of choosing a side opening ramp was more than just public sentiment of the side ramp over that of a rear ramp van. Think about all the places you might want to park your van, and if there's a chance you'll be parking along the curb, you might as well take the rear access ramp van off your choice list. You see, if you parallel park in an open parking spot between two other vehicles, you won't be able to deploy the ramp at the back of the van. In realizing this, most people will decide and realize why the choice of a side access ramp van is so popular and immediately go through all the scenarios that might hinder your success with that configuration. So, are there some problems with the ramp on the side of a minivan conversion, and are there ways around them? Let's look at the basic ADA parking spot designed for side loading ramp vans. The overall striped loading area will be a minimum of 8 feet by regulation, wide enough to comfortably negotiate offloading and unloading while maneuvering a full-size power chair. Caution should always be used never to make contact with the adjacent parked car. If you damage someone else's car with your power chair, you can be held responsible for that damage. Remember, there's always a large number of parking lot security cameras that allow others to see credible evidence regarding damage to the vehicle. Unfortunately, there are never enough of these van unloading parking spots, so let's next talk about the standard size ADA parking spots. The standard ADA parking spot adjacent striped area should be at least 5 feet wide. As this size was originally sized for assisting a person from a vehicle to a folding wheelchair stored in the car's trunk, it does not allow the normal use of a ramp van and a power chair user. This is not wide enough to offload from a side ramp van if there is a car parked in the next parking spot. Not a problem though. Here's how my wife Cindy and I can easily make it work as a viable parking spot. Pay attention because we'll be referencing this technique for perpendicular parking spots also. Let's call this technique short stop. With the growth of baby boomers reaching their golden age, there's often a shortage of any type of ADA accessible parking. Just because there aren't any accessible parking spots left doesn't mean you miss an appointment, be late, or have to choose a different restaurant. Our next option is to look for the closest available open spot, even if not an ADA parking spot. So how does this short stop technique work? When we find a parking spot, we simply pull partially in between the stall lines, but only pull into the parking spot and stop when the front of the side door edge is still behind the rear bumper of the car parked in the next spot. Open the door and deploy the ramp. We have a docking station to lock my power chair, so Cindy presses the unlatch button after turning the engine off and releasing my shoulder safety belt. I'm then free to back out of the docking device, turn and drive out of the van on the ramp. As soon as I clear the bottom of the ramp, Cindy presses one button to retract the ramp and close the door. As the door is closing, Cindy starts the van and drives fully into the parking spot, then joins me as we make our way to the store, clinic, restaurant, or other destination. When leaving, I sit in my power chair on the right rear side of the van as Cindy backs the van until she clears the vehicle next to us when the ramp is extended. I load up, get locked in the docking station, the ramp door is closed, seatbelt put on, and we are off to our next destination. One of the negative thoughts that may come into your mind is, this is a very busy place and I hate to be the one to hold up cars coming into the parking area. Let's throw a timer on the short stop procedure to see how little time it takes to actually use this technique above and beyond the time it normally takes to park. The short stop method only takes seconds extra before you can completely pull into your parking spot and allow traffic to pass behind you. This is far less time disrupting traffic passing behind you than if you had a rear-mounted ramp van when your tail end might disrupt traffic for a lot longer time. When searching for a parking spot in a municipal or private business lot, you may find perpendicular parking on both your left and right sides. Again, you will find that there are usually not any open handicap van spots open, so you'll have to select either a regular size ADA parking spot or maybe even a regular parking spot. You can choose any open spot either on the left or the right, and you can easily use the short stop technique described earlier in this video. Again, drive into the parking spot, but stopping short of where your ramp can deploy behind the rear bumper of the car parked to your right. You know the rest of this technique. You can choose any open spot either on the left or the right, and you can easily use the short stop technique described earlier in this video. Remember parallel parking when you took your driver's test during your teenage years? As with any new vehicle, expect to need some practice parking your new van. With all the window visibility and correctly adjusted rear view mirrors, and many vehicles now having backup cameras, parallel parking your new van should not be a problem after doing it a few times. When your vehicle is parked and you're ready to roll, open the door and deploy the ramp directly on the sidewalk surface. The ramp angle will actually be less because of the raised curb versus street surface that your van is parked on, so exiting and entering the van will actually be a little easier. If you will be off or unloading onto a narrow sidewalk with grass on the other side, you may want to park the van a bit off the curb to allow room to come down the ramp and make a 90-degree turn onto the sidewalk without driving on the grass surface on the other side of the sidewalk. If you have a Q-Straint or Easy Lock docking device in your van, you will also have a bracket with a bolt hanging down from the center bottom of your power chair. If when making the turn at the end of the ramp and one of your drive wheels drops off to the lower surface on the grass, you may get hung up on the bolt when it contacts the sidewalk surface. That's the reason parking a bit off the curb for a narrow sidewalk, leaving yourself room to make a 90-degree turn at the end of the ramp without dropping off the other side of the sidewalk, is a good practice to remember. Remember at the beginning of this video when I said finding a parking spot may be easier with a ramp van than with a Volkswagen Beetle? Well, a Volkswagen Beetle without a handicap placard should not be utilizing any ADA parking spot. Your van, with the proper handicap placard or tags, can park in any ADA designated or any non-ADA designated parking spot. And now for that tip of the day that I promised you. As this skeletal muscle disease progresses, you lose the ability with your hands and fingers to release the push button to release the seatbelt on your power chair. I find using the seatbelt keeps me positioned properly in the power chair, helps prevent slouching, and gives me ease of mind when going up and down the ramps that have become a part of my IBM life. I've replaced the original push-button release seatbelt with one similar to that used on an airplane with a flip-type buckle. I find that even with my almost completely useless hands and fingers, I can catch hold of the end of the buckle to release the seatbelt from around my waist. Hey, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up on your screen and make sure to subscribe if you haven't already done so in the past. If you press on the notification bell, you will receive a message whenever there is a new episode published on the IB Myositis YouTube channel. Now if your spouse wants to go parking on a Saturday night, you can reply, "With pleasure, dear." Thanks for watching. Now go parking, my IBM friends.